Hey, JD here. Welcome to the Mead House. You know, over the past several years, we've brought you over 150 episodes of mead making education, information, and entertainment. More than 100 guests have stopped by the Mead House, professional mead makers, medal-winning home mead makers, competition organizers, experts on yeast and honey, and brewers just like you and me have all visited to share their knowledge. Hey, the Mead House is produced for home mead makers and brewers looking for a bit of inspiration and information from the many guests and discussions we have here at the house. You can help support the Mead House by joining the Mead House Keyholder Club on Patreon. Just go to patreon.com and search for the Mead House. There's also a link in the show notes. For as little as $2 a month, you can become a keyholder. We've teamed up with some great companies to provide thank you gifts for your support. So get on over to Patreon, join the Mead House Keyholder Club, and get your own set of keys to the Mead House. You can listen to the Mead House podcast with your favorite player, and be sure to rate us 5 stars on iTunes or your favorite listening venue. The Mead House, mead making entertainment you just don't want to miss. Hey, welcome to the Mead House, and thanks for listening to episode number 182. You know, I was just outside washing the riding lawnmower when Jeff and Ryan showed up. I'm JD Webb, and I'll probably have to wallpaper the dining room after they leave. Hey, the Mead House podcast, we are everywhere. We are all over the place. On iTunes, Stitcher Radio, Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube, Amazon Music. So tell your sweetheart Alexa, hey, darling, play the Mead House podcast, would you? Hey, in this episode, what did I tell you last week? Remember how I introed the show? We've talked to civil engineers, software developers, so on and so forth. Last week, it was a pharmacist getting started in home brewing that started last week's show off. Well, tonight, it's an IT pro, and after 20 years in the business, decided to hell with that. I want to be a professional brewer. Well, it worked out just fine. In this episode, we talked to award-winning professional mead maker and brewer Kevin Martin. And in segment 2, I knew it was time to start either drinking more or sobering up when I saw Jeff's notes about segment 2. Really, dude? Christmas already? We haven't even had, or have we had Halloween yet? Was I awake?
Christmas is 10 days away, man. Come on.
Anyway, hey, gift wrapping your homebrew. We'll talk a few ideas in segment 2. And then segment 3, hey, you know what this one's all about. This is the social club. This is where we try to answer questions from mead makers with no formal expertise other than what we have experienced in our own brew house. Hey, thanks to all the Mead House keyholders who help keep the Mead House podcast free. Hey, you too can become a Mead House keyholder and help support the show for as little as $2 a month. We've got some great thank you gifts to send out to you, plus a listing of keyholder-only content over on Patreon. So, hey, get over there, patreon.com, or just search for the Mead House, or just click on the link in the show notes. What are we drinking tonight? Tonight, guys, I went all out. I'm double fisting it, and both glasses are full of mead. How about that? And it's my own mead. How about that? In the first glass, this one I've been talking about. This is a traditional that I put together, kind of a semi-sweet little thing. 5-gallon batch, wildflower honey, 71B. You know, the standard deal here. And then took a few liberties with some wood. Tossed in some American oak that was soaked in a bourbon for a little bit, and then tossed in probably about maybe 3/4 cup of bourbon. Not quite there yet with the bourbon flavor that I'm looking for, but I did toss in some Hungarian oak. Ooh, my word. Is that adding another dimension? Oh, yeah. This is, and it was about not even an ounce, maybe like 0.85 of an ounce. Not a lot, but you can really taste it. Really coming through very, very nicely. I'm really digging this. My wife loves it. And I'm not quite sure at this point if I really want to take it to that bourbon level or not. I may just leave this one alone and just bottle it up as is. In the other glass, you've heard me talk about this one a time or two before, too. After 2 years in the carboy, this is the Blackberry Cherry Port Mead. I dug out the notes. This is all put together on 4/8/18, so 2 years ago. The starting gravity, I wrote down my notes 1.165 plus, whatever that means. I think my hydrometer only went up to like 6.0. But I know this is a really high gravity. It was tough getting started. And there's two cans of Merlot concentrate, one can of red Zinfandel concentrate, about a pound and a half of a really black ripe banana right up front and primary. Threw about a little, not quite a pound of dried Montmorency cherries in the ferment. In secondary, threw in 2 pounds of blackberry, 2 pounds of cherries, and 4 ounces of French oak. Top that baby off with Hennessy cognac, an entire 750 ml bottle. And let me tell you, after 2 years, oh my word. I mean, this was quite a project. It's tasty. I mean, I get the Zinfandel wine. It's got the deep, that deep complex flavor of the Merlot, that richness that the Merlot wines always bring out. The dried cherries, the cherries are right on the top. Dig a little bit deeper on the back end, you can find that blackberry coming through. And then like that French oak, oh, dude, what a rounded out, nice little after dinner aperitif. Nice little port wine, port mead. It's sweet. This would be good with a little savory dish, some cheese plate or something along that lines. But I'm really digging it. So it really came together good. Awfully proud of it. Jeff, out there in Kansas City, what did you put in your cup tonight, bud?
Well, I tell you, we have had sustained weather in the 20s for the last couple days, and I'm rankled. Winter weather just saps all the energy out of me. I'm not happy about this, and it's going to be another 3 months before we get warm, sunny evenings again. So, in that regard, some tropical beans tonight. I've got a professional mead and I've got a homebrew. In my professional glass here, I've got some Nanny Moon Meadery's Deviant Behavior. This is made with Hawaiian chili pepper and pineapple honey wine. And let's give it another sip here. You get the pineapple kind of right off the bat, just as it's kind of getting into the mid palate area, and the Hawaiian chili peppers aren't terribly spicy. There's kind of a lingering tingle on the tongue, but it's not like it's not offensively spicy or anything like that. I could see this being really nice with like a pork or another light chicken dish, something like that, with some, especially with some like citrusy flavors and stuff like that. This is right about the heat level that I like. Just enough to kind of to know it's there without really being overwhelming. And it balances nicely with the sweetness in the pineapple. The other one I have is courtesy of Ryan here. It just has a little green piece of tape on it that says key lime on the cap. And it definitely smells like key lime. And it tastes like it too. This is a key lime pie just without the graham crackery kind of crust.
Oh wow!
It's very sweet, but the acidity from the lime is cutting right in, and it's about balance. I mean, there's a lot of acidity here, there's a lot of sweetness here. This is sweeter than I usually go for, but I'm probably still going to finish this glass just because this is really good. Key lime is one of my favorite pies, so yeah. Tropical stuff in my glass tonight.
That sounds good. I wonder if tequila would fit in that glass too. Limes, tequila. I don't know. I'll have to talk to Ryan about that. Speaking of Ryan, up there in Mead House North, what is in your cup tonight, buddy? Ryan's still trying to pour his drink, or what? You got to take them.
Yeah.
Got to take it off of mute.
Yeah. For the drink here, we are deep into Advent, and when I was a kid, we had the cardboard or the paper Advent calendar, and every day you just open it and it'd have a number in there. Well, then that evolved, and all of a sudden there was chocolates behind everyone. Like the chocolate you open a day and there's a chocolate behind it. And then there was the beer Advent calendars, and I got some buddies working on those right now, where they every day there's you punch open a little door and there's a different beer back there. And I've even seen the Scotch one, where every day you open a new tab and there's a little drama of Scotch.
Oh, nice.
Well, I don't have any of those.
Oh,
and I haven't seen a Mead Advent calendar yet. Maybe Ash needs to start working on that for next year.
Yeah,
probably sell a whole ton of them. But no, I kind of created my own Advent calendar. I mean, I have just a totally random mixed case. And I just been pulling stuff out of the random mix case every day, so it's kind of my own version. And tonight, I'm kind of on a Belgian kick after talking to our Bart over there last week, and pulled out a cherry Schoof. So this is the Schoof beer from Belgium, and this is their cherry variety. I think they're probably most known for their blonde ale, if I'm not mistaken. But they do have a few other flavors, and it's very, very, very good. I mean, excellent beer, very good. However, it does have the cherry on it is a little more reminiscent of sweet cherries than tart cherries. And so it does have a little bit of that remind you of a cough syrup a little bit, or something like that. It's not, I don't want to say it's bad. It's not bad, or it's not that, but I'm so used to the cherry meads I drink, with the good tart cherries, or if there is some sweet cherries, it's blended really well. So this is a little bit different for that, but still a very nice, Belgian ale.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So our guest tonight, Kevin Martin, won the gold medal in the braggot category in the National Honey Board's 2020 Mead Crafters competition.
Awesome.
With their braggot, 10 Penny Lane, coming out of Good Road Ciderworks. Kevin he's got quite the fun little fact sheet here. As JD said, over 20 years in IT before going pro as a mead / cider maker. As JD said, we've heard a few of those stories before. He's still in the local brew club, the Carolina Brewmasters, which winners of the very first American Homebrew Association Radagast Award, and he was the president that year. So he started homebrewing in 1994. His first kit was the Slobber Porter, the beer that's not as bad as its name. I think that's maybe a Caribou Slobber clone, perhaps. Second beer was an Imperial Stout Doppelbock Barley Wine Hybrid. I was new.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask.
Mead.
You can bet I'm gonna ask him about that one.
Yeah. I read about Mead in Charlie Papazian's Joy of Homebrewing, and bought a ubiquitous commercial example, which made me want to try my hand at it. He made his first batch that was fabulously horrible, and became a challenge. He's made melons for his wedding. Um, and he started competing as an amateur in 2001. North Carolina Meadmaker of the Year top 3 plaque 13 times, and 4 first place finishes in between 2001 2015. Hundreds of medals, ribbons from amateur competitions for Mead. BJCP national. I need to either drink more or less too, JD. I'm just fumbling all over the place tonight. BJCP national judge, Mead endorsement. He went pro in 2017, where he is the head of fermentation, lab technology, IT, and a part owner of Good Road Ciderworks. Welcome to the show, Kevin. And what is in your glass tonight?
I'm actually drinking a mix of Stride, which is our dry session mead, and it is mixed with another one of our meads, which is a cider called Cider Koze, and that is one that's aged in a rye barrel, and it's mixed with a little bit of maraschino cherry juice and a little orange, kind of a nod to an old fashioned. Our bar room manager calls it a new fashion, and it's drinking pretty good right now. So
that sounds damn good.
Oh, you're drinking real nice, I tell you.
Yeah. So thanks for coming and stopping by the show. Again, congratulations on that award. I meant to read this. Let me just read what the Good Road Ciderworks. This is the 10 Penny Lane. This is the one that won the gold medal. A proprietary blend of several types of honey: alfalfa, avocado blossom, mesquite, orange blossom, wildflower, and Zambian wildflower, and several malts comprise this mead, which is referred to as a braggot. Braggots combine the best of beer and mead to create a unique experience. To that end, 10 Penny Lane is based on the English barley wine with its assertive hops. It also features a complex malt framework that complements the honey aroma and flavor. Furthermore, the flavor hints at dark fruit with notes of toffee, toast, and assertive yet balanced bitterness with honey sweetness. Finally, the medium full body provides a smooth, almost creamy mouthfeel, as evidenced by the sturdy foam stand on pour. Enjoy this amber elixir with English roots and an intercontinental flair, clocking in at 10% ABV. Man, that sounds absolutely delicious. And then for good measure, they have that same 10 Penny Lane aged in a whiskey barrel.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God. You know what, Kevin, I'm coming out to North Carolina in June. I'll be heading up towards Samora. I don't know if you know where that's at, Milton, Samora, up there by the Virginia border.
Okay.
I'm going to make it a point to come through Charlotte. I'm stopping by your place and pick up some of that stuff.
Come drink it. Come drink it. If we're out, I'll make some more.
Oh my God, that sounds so good.
Yeah. So, Kevin, I don't know where to start. You've done it all. You've got. I'm happy to be talking to you. Tell us let's just start with that braggot. How'd you kind of concept putting that together? I mean, it sounds unbelievable, and Jeff, I don't know. Did we taste in English something based on English barley wine at all when we were judging braggots for the braggot shootout?
It's possible.
Well-
I mean, a lot of the styles were not explicitly declared on our kind of a judge sheet there. We just kind of got what we got, and I know there was definitely some kind of a barley wine. I'm not sure if it was more American or more English. I think something in that neighborhood.
So, one of the we judged braggots. So we did a braggot competition as part of our IRB that we host, and it can be really hard to come up with that a good balance. I think the BJCP calls it the harmonious blend of malt and honey, or beer and mead. How do you go about kind of creating that harmonious marriage of the two with your braggots?
Well, I'll tell you, it basically was experience. After competing as an amateur from 2001 to like 2015 and going through and getting judged constantly, I had gotten to the point where barley wines were one of my favorite styles, but specifically the English barley wine, because it's a little more subtle on the hop side. And I'm really in love with Maris Otter as a grain. And so the Thomas Hardy Ale, which is sort of the exemplar for that style, is always in the back of my mind, right? So what had happened was, I would say right around 2011, 2012, I attempted a braggot, and that braggot was based on an English barley wine, and I just had like a really good example of a Thomas Hardy, the commercial version. And that braggot I made, I entered at the beginning of competition season as a straight braggot, and it won a first place and went to best of show, got an honorable mention. And I thought, all right, not too bad. It ribboned as its base beer style. At the end of the year, it got another first place ribbon as the braggot based on its beer style. And to me, that let me know that I had done what I set out to do, and I'd gotten that flavor profile. Because what I went for was to get that, Maillard reaction, to get those really savory umami notes, that toasted bread and those fruits and stuff that you get in a good English barley wine, but without the hops going over the top and knocking out that honey flavor and aroma. Because like Style Guideline says, you got to get that balance. And the good thing is, if you have a good barley wine, if you have honey notes, it's not a knock. But if you have a good braggot, you don't want to overpower those same notes so that it kills the mead side. So once I got that dialed in, it just stuck in my mind. So when the opportunity came up to partner with the brewery that we had to work with to do it, it was just a natural thing when they came forward and said, why don't we do a collab? So I just went back to that recipe that won those ribbons, and I was like, I got the thing for you. So let's knock it out. And there it was. And this same braggot took a silver in the Mead Crafters last year, and like any good barley wine, another year on it, and it just got better. And there's the gold medal this year. So I'm happy.
Did you purposely select the braggot style, or did you just stumble upon this through your recipe creation? The reason why I'm asking, Kevin, is because the show, the Mead House, we kind of center, although we're a mead making / brewing podcast, we tend to kind of err on the braggot side a little bit more, because it's not a style of mead that you commonly find in a lot of the bigger competitions. Not until lately, I don't think. And so we're doing our part to try to bring that to the front burner. For many years, it's been on the back burner. And so my question is, did you just stumble upon this, or was this a specific? Did you intend to make a braggot? And if you could, tell us why did you choose the style braggot?
I have actually, the whole time I've been making mead, because as I started out as a home brewer doing beer. Now, my third recipe was a mead, but what I would do is I always made beer and drank beer while I was waiting on my mead to age.
Mm-hmm.
So it got to the point where my homebrew club thought all I did was make mead. So I would enter beers sometimes and get a few ribbons with beers, and people would be like, "We didn't know you made beer." And I thought there's got to be a way to, mix these things together. So I did a little research and stumbled across the braggot style because, this was like, I guess, mid to late 90s.
Yeah.
So I didn't know that much about it. And when I finally found out about braggots, I made a few. And I was like, this is it. This is, for me, this is the pinnacle. This is nirvana. So I started, every once in a while, I would do a braggot. And I've done braggots like, I've done one that was like the French style, like Beer de Miel. That one, I did a clone of that. And I was like, oh, so there's this is a thing,
Yeah.
And once I did that one, I did a Belgian Pale Ale version. I've done a Russian Imperial Stout version as an amateur. And that one actually went to the second round in the MHC.
Wow.
And once I, got my head wrapped around it, I thought, I got to keep making these things because it literally covered all the bases for my palate. So I've, over the years, always done braggots because I just think it's a great, great style that just doesn't get, the publicity that it ought to.
There you go. And thank you.
Preach to the choir, but just keep on talking.
Yeah. I mean, we, like I said, braggots, and we've been talking about braggots for a long time on the show, but we really started pushing it probably maybe 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago even. And it was a style that I just absolutely fell in. One of our former co-hosts had sent me one that he had made, and it's like, okay, this is it. This is all I want to make. I don't want to make nothing else. I just want to make braggots. I just love the stuff. And in doing my own research, come to find out, hardly anybody's ever heard of it. I mean, it's a standard style, BJCP style, but you never find, you hardly ever hear of anybody winning the braggot category in any of these competitions. So we thought, well, you know what, we need to do our part and try to bring braggots up to the front burner, like I said, and thank you so much for really pushing that envelope a little bit.
My pleasure.
I am absolutely. I'm making a note right here. Stopping Charlotte on the way to Samora, and I'm going to call you before I get there, let you know where I'm at. And I'm going to come by. I want to taste your stuff badly. So.
Oh, absolutely.
Good stuff. Sorry, Ryan. I didn't mean to go on and on.
No, not at all. You do a lot of, when I say you, I should say Good Road Ciderworks puts out a lot of different styles, everything from sizers to tej to all different kinds. JD, I meant to tell you too, if you check this out here, I know you were looking at this, the bourbon barrel aged sizer.
Yes. Oh my God.
And
yes.
and then in case you want to change it up, how about the rye barrel aged sizer?
Oh yeah, digging that.
So you've got a lot of different styles here, and I had mentioned the tej, and that's a style that I have seen. It's still fairly under the radar, you might say. But there are a few folks here. I'm in Minneapolis that do make quite a few of those. Tell us about how you go about kind of approaching yours.
Well, what I like to do, one, I got lucky, and I would say I think it was maybe 2 years ago. I was in the Modern Mead Makers group on Facebook, and someone had posted a link through the AMMA, the American Mead Makers Association, that Dutch Gold was running a special on Zambian honey, which is, an African wildflower.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, I'd always read about Tej, and I'd had a few commercial examples, but I've always liked Ethiopian food. And even the Tej I had in some of the Ethiopian restaurants, I talked to some of the folks there, and I have a few Ethiopian friends, and I'd ask, what they thought about it, and they said it's okay, but it's not that clear, and it's not really quite the spicy levels that we're used to. It doesn't have the woody, spicy notes that we actually get, and I guess it has to be clear or filtered or whatever in the U.S. That was their assumption, and they said do a little research, because usually when we're drinking it, it tends to be actively fermenting and gets stronger and stronger as you go. I know you probably can't do something like that, but if you could just get a little closer to what that experience is like, that'd be kind of cool. So I did some research and got a chance to look at it and see pictures of it, and I still haven't found a supplier for those cool glasses that they use drink out of, look kind of like flask or whatever. I'd like to get some of those. When I'm making it, you have to source the material, and then you have to find the complementary honey. And I thought the Zambian honey, even though it's not from the same country, at least being on the continent, it's much more likely to get the right flora, to get the nectar, or at least some similar flora. And I would say it did, because the honey doesn't taste like anything I've ever gotten from the States. It just had a whole different kind of flavor profile, leather and tobacco and sort of an umami kind of thing that I couldn't even place my finger on. And then I actually let that ferment with, I'm trying to remember what the yeast was. It was an organic yeast that we used, but it was actually a pretty neutral yeast, because I didn't want to overshoot with the woody hops that we used, the gesho. And I actually let it ferment, on the gesho, just straight through. And it was pretty cloudy. And when it finished, I actually let mine finish pretty dry. It was on the dry side of semi-sweet, and when we put it on, a gentleman came in that had just come from Ethiopia with his adopted son. And when he tasted it, he said it reminded him of Tej's that he'd had in a Tej house. So I figured we gotten pretty close. And it wasn't clear. We'd started filtering it, but for whatever reason, I guess because of the particulate matter from the gesho, it was catching in the filter, and it was coming out crystal clear, even on a coarse filter. So we only filtered about a third or so of it, and to keep the cloudiness the way it was supposed to be, and keep the flavor profile, because as it filtered and when it got crystal clear, it also changed the flavor profile dramatically. The whole organoleptic impact was completely changed, and it basically tasted like any semi-sweet mead when it came out of that filter. So once we backed off of that, then we got a lot closer to what we were looking for. But it was definitely an interesting fermentation, and it did not look like anything I've ever seen before either, because the stuff that you see floating on top, your average person might think your ferment had gone bad, because it almost looks like it almost looks like you're getting a pellicle.
Soap, like soap scum. Like soap scum in a bathtub, yeah.
Exactly. It looks like something that would make you want to dump the batch, but if you are, you're supposed to taste your stuff, as you go through your ferment, and it did not taste bad. And, looking at pictures of stuff in progress on other sites, it looked like those pictures, so we kept going, and it was fun. As a matter of fact, I've got some of that Zambian honey now because they had some on sale briefly before all of this COVID stuff. And my plan is to try to do a slightly bigger batch this time because we just did a small batch just to see what would happen last year. But this year I'm going to do a bigger batch. But it was good, you know. I mean, I liked it, and it definitely had a nice flavor profile. So we're going to try it again.
Excellent. You know, Kevin, just talking to you, you sound like, you know, you really enjoy, you know, crafting your meads and your ciders, and I can get a sense of joy, you know, from when you're talking about it here. What you know, what do you want people to know, you know, from a guy like you know, amateur and now professional, of you know, of making mead and cider and you know, enjoying what they're doing?
I would tell you, it is one, in some ways, it's exactly the same as doing it when you're a home brewer. You still have to pay attention to your sanitation. You still have to taste all your materials. You know, if you have honey that tastes like onions, you're going to get a mead that's going to have an onion taste on the back end. All of that stuff still applies. You know, if you don't like cleaning, well, being a pro is not for you, because if you hate cleaning as an amateur, you're really going to hate cleaning as a pro.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you think 5, 10, 15 gallons, you know, getting squirrely on you and making you pivot to the pain, wait until you have 500 or 1,000 or 2,000 gallons go squirrely and you have to pivot and make a change to save a batch, because, you know, then you're talking about some money. And you gotta, you know, you have to really get familiar with some of the science that you don't necessarily get as familiar with. You know, those things matter. But on the flip side, the joy is very much the same. You know, just like you like to make a really good mead and give it to people and see that look on their faces.
Mm-hmm.
One of the best things in the world is to have somebody walk into your place and say, "Oh, I've had mead. I can't stand that stuff. That's sickly sweet, or it's too dry. I don't like it. I've had it here. I've had it there. I'll never drink that stuff again." And you convince them to just try one. You know, you ask them what they like in wine. You ask them what they like in beer. And you find that match, and you have them just, you know, give them a 1 ounce sample.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, somebody's eyes light up, and they're like, "Oh, I like that." And they take a pour, you know, and then they buy another pour, and then they have their friend at the table get some, and next thing you know, you have a regular customer. Now that is impressive. That is something that will make you smile all day long. And that's a good thing.
So let's take a step back a little bit here, Kevin. 20 years as an IT pro. I've worked with some IT people in my career, and I don't blame you.
Yeah.
Probably one of the most boringest jobs. Oh my God. So you one of your first attempts at coming up with your own recipe. Ryan spit it out earlier. Imperial Stout Doppelbock Barley Wine Hybrid. What was up with that?
Well, it's actually, okay, we did that slobber porter. The guy that I brewed with, that was we were both contractors at Microsoft at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And we went out after work for a beer, you know, because it'd been one of those days, you know, it was our first job out of school. And we saw a jar of ingredients sitting on the counter. And even at the time, God, that was 94. We're like, if they can charge this kind of money and make this beer, which was fairly mediocre,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, man, I wish we could try that. And there just happened to be a hobby store up the street that sold, you know, the equipment and the kits.
Yeah.
So, you know, we stopped by and we got us a kit, and God, in 94, still it was only like, I don't know, $89, $99 for a kit. So we got that, made the slobber. It was okay. It was a nice, mid-range porter. And we decided we'd both come up with a recipe. And I decided I'm brand new. I'm in North Carolina. We have a cap of 6% on beers. I'm going to make something big. I'm gonna break double digits. And what style breaks double digits? And I saw barley wines, Russian Imperial stouts, and Doppelbock. And I couldn't decide which one to do. So I took a little bit of inspiration from all three. So I had a barley wine. It had roasted malt and a whole bunch of, golden promise syrup. And next thing you know, I have this thing that I call Minions of Evil. I just knew it was going to be great, right? So we do this stuff and we get it boiled up and get lobster hands from trying to get all of this stuff to dissolve in a 5-gallon pot to forever. And we finally get it to ferment, and I think it came out to about 12%. So it was pretty good. The problem is it needed age, and I hadn't thought about that. As it tasted a whole lot like rocket fuel when it was done.
Yeah.
So we tasted it occasionally, and we made it in January. We tasted it occasionally, and then we get all the way around to New Year's Eve that next year, and I have 2 bottles left, and we crack it, and I'll be darned if the stuff wasn't outstanding. It was fabulous.
There you go.
It had taken a year to age, but it was great. And I was kicking myself for drinking it, waiting for it to get better.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was wonderful. Now the problem is the next time I tried to make it, it came out more like a Xingu Brazilian black beer, which is also good, but I never could repeat that exact, first time out recipe. It just never worked the same. And I used a lager yeast when I did it, a dried lager yeast. So I just got lucky, I tell you. It's probably the favorite beer I've ever made because it was completely wrong by style guidelines and accidental, but it was good drinking. By the time it was worth drinking. So
yeah. Well, I'll tell you, I guess we've all been there and done that. You think you got this recipe that's it's just going to put all other recipes to shame. Like you say, the first dip out of the secondary, and oh my God, you could light the barbecue with it. So,
oh yeah.
Oh, amazing stuff. I love
it. Jeff, you have any questions for Kevin tonight as we kind of wind down with him?
Yeah, I was actually looking through the menu of meads you've got listed on your website here. And you mentioned, Ryan mentioned, you got the whiskey barrel aged 10-penny. You've got that Cider Coze in rye and bourbon barrel, and then other stuff. I kind of wanted to just get your take on how you're approaching doing the wood age on some of these brews, because that's something we're really interested in as well.
Well, we're actually kind of lucky here in where we are. We're in Charlotte because at our location on our street, there's us as the meadery cidery. And then there's, there's 3 breweries on our street. And there's actually just one block over, there's a distillery.
Oh, dude.
And then, and then another part of town, there used to be 2 distilleries, but one just moved to another location. But at the time, we had 2 distilleries, so we had easy access to barrels. Nice. And then the homebrew shop is just like walking distance away, so we can get wood chips just easy. It's like a 5-minute drive to just go get American oak, French oak, Hungarian oak. So we had like easy access to these chips, But to get a fresh rye barrel, a fresh bourbon barrel, a fresh award-winning American whiskey barrel is just, dude, you can't beat it when you get those barrels fresh. Yeah. And you can just use them just right out of the room. It's awesome.
You know, I'd
But,
be pitching a tent in somebody's front yard in that neighborhood. I mean,
yeah,
holy
it's
cow!
a great place. Yeah, it's a great place.
Oh my
Yeah, there's
god!
a lot of times people will actually come and they'll start at one end of the street, like early in the day, and they'll just go up and visit each spot, and then they'll go back down, and then you'll see them, you know, calling Ubers or Lyfts or whatever, because that's pretty much what you have to do if you stop at every location.
That
But,
was
yeah,
my
it's a
thought.
good little spot. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
cool.
Wow! 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 Holy cow! Oh my God! You know, I wish we could spend more time with you, Kevin. My Lord, lucky me, guys. Wife and I are making that big trip. We're actually going to see my sister, my younger sister, up in Maine, Kevin, in June.
Nice.
And my best friends, two of my best friends, live in North Carolina there.
Mhm.
And like I said, I have written down your information, and I'm gonna call you when we get close. I'm coming by your place. Uh,
Oh, please do.
yeah,
Please do.
I would love to stop by and visit with you for just, you know, even if it's just a couple hours or whatever. Um,
Absolutely.
Ryan, how did you find this guy? Ryan does all of our bookings for us for our show, Kevin. So,
Oh, okay.
oh my God, yeah, he comes up with some class acts, dude. I'm telling you, and you are absolutely at the top of the list.
Well, I
So
figured that if
y'all
he
could
got a
see me
gold
blushing.
medal in the National Honey Board's Mead Crafters competition, he was somebody we wanted to talk to.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know a whole ton about him. I had not heard of Good Road Ciderworks, and I hadn't heard of Kevin. And man, I feel like I should have. I feel like I should have known who he was
Wow.
and what he was up to, because this sounds great. This is amazing.
Yeah.
Kevin, why don't you tell us a little bit about Good Road Ciderworks and where people can find you guys and your stuff.
Well, let's see. Good Road Ciderworks. We're in Charlotte, North Carolina. Our website is www.goodroadciderworks.com. We just started packaging. So we have a couple of things in bottles right now, and we're in the process of setting up our Vino shipper account. So in just a little while, you'll be able to get our stuff in any place that Vino shipper ships. You know, so that's going to make our stuff a little more accessible, a little more available.
Yeah.
So some of these things that I've talked about, you'll be able to get wherever you are. So that'll be pretty good.
Good stuff.
Kevin, please shoot us an email and let us know when you guys do get on Vino Shipper, so that we can let everybody else know, let our audience know that that they can get your stuff.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
And,
Thank you.
again, thank you, Kevin, for spending some time with us here and sharing here at the Mead House. And thank you again so much for helping to bring the braggot category to the front burner. I love the work that you're doing on it. And best of luck in the future, and keep up the good work for sure.
All right. My pleasure. And thank y'all for having me. I really, really appreciate it.
All right. Take care.
But y'all too. Have a good evening.
Good night. Thank you, Kevin. Good night.
Wow, guys. It just so happened Charlotte's on my way to Maine. What do you think about that? Wow. I love the fact that, we don't, I don't know how many, oh God, how many hundreds of guests have we talked to? I don't know that we have spoken to anybody who has come, who has started as early as he has, really kind of pushing the braggot thing. I mean, he seems like he's been, it's almost like a necessity for him. He's been working braggots for some time, and I'm eager. I am very eager to taste some of his products.
Right. And I mean, the part of that, I'm sure, is just the fact that it's weird and hard in a lot of places to make a braggot because there's different laws between making a wine, so to speak, making a beer, and you can't do this, that, or the other. It's all very weird and complicated. I mean, I think from my memory, the only other professional brewer that we've talked to that's even doing braggots on a collaboration basis was Michael Fairbrother, like years and years ago. So I mean, it is awesome that we're getting professionals exploring this category too, making it available. And geez, once that's on Vino Shipper, that's going to be awesome.
Yeah, and I mean, I dig the fact that a lot of these professional meaderies. I guess it depends on the state that you live in and the legal mumbo jumbo garbage crap that everybody has to put up with when they open up their own business and whatnot in each state. So I get all that, but being able to produce them professionally is, I think, where it's at. And at least it's, Ryan, he's helping to bring that category to the front more so than a lot of people that we've talked to in the past. And I really thank him for that.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was. I'll tell you, sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. And we got pretty lucky with Kevin tonight.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wish I could say I was that good, but I think I got lucky.
Okay, so segment 2, like I said, I knew it was time to you start drinking more or sobering up when I saw Jeff's notes for the segment 2 for this episode. Christmas, for crying out loud, Jeff. I'm thinking, geez, have we even had Halloween yet? Christmas is like, I mean, come on. I'm like, 60, you'll be 67, okay? Christmas is like, that's like such a far off thing for me at my age, with no kids. I mean, my wife and I do something special, but I mean, come on,
And this is such a weird year with COVID and everything going on, and the extended lockdown we were under and everything else. Like Halloween was kind of Thanksgiving was kind of depending on what part of the country you're in. Christmas is going to be more and it's kind of one of those things. Like I've seen a lot of people recently doing posts about talking about their Christmas brews or stuff they're making for gifts and things like that. And so that's kind of where this topic comes from is, that's just been really popular on Facebook and on Reddit and things like that lately. So yeah, no, I mean, usually I'm not the kind of person that gives homebrew as a gift, so to speak, except unless of course it's a special occasion. I'll sometimes do like, my friend's wedding, I'll make a little batch for them. And it's just for them.
Yeah.
But one thing that I've liked doing in the past, especially around the holidays, is have a batch, and then it feels like December and even like the first week and a half of January, you're always going to different parties, whether it's like the holiday party at work, your wife's holiday party, your friend's holiday party, your mom, your dad, Aunt Jenny 3 hours away, what have you. One thing I've always liked doing is having like a bottle to bring to that. Just, open that up, let people try it. They may like it, they may not. It's okay. But it's nice to have something to bring, to share, and just to get in the holiday spirit like that.
Yeah.
Those big social gatherings aren't probably happening this year, but there are a lot of people that are giving this stuff for gifts. Or one thing that I've in the last week, I've gotten 3 different care packages where people just came and left like Christmas cookies on my front porch. Said, hey, go out to your front door.
Something that I have noticed in the last probably 3 months is I'm kind of an amateur photographer, and I just bought, well, not just, it's been three months ago. I have a wide format, really high end photo printer, and so I've been printing and framing my own photographs. I have a buddy that that I shoot with that does custom matting. So he does all my matting for me. And I get my picture frames in two places, Hobby Lobby and Michael's, both craft stores.
Mhm.
And I mean, there's a lot of people buying crafts at these places. And in fact, I even asked one of the cashiers at Michael's a few weeks back. I said, it seems like there's a lot more business now than used to be. Is are people, because of this COVID thing, staying home and making crafts? I mean, is getting involved with the kids' orders? Oh yeah, by all means. So this whole thing kind of fits in with this discussion here now.
Sure. Well, and there's a lot of different ways you could take this whole idea of dressing up bottles. I mean, you can do it very like fancy and professional. They make the little shrink caps, and you can get like go to Grog Tag and get high gloss vinyl stickers and stuff like that to stick on the bottles and stuff like that. If you want to take a slightly different approach, I did some looking today. I found a company. I cannot remember the name for the life of me, but they're doing like 500 count like gold foil stickers, 2x2 or 2x3 inch, so about the size of a beer label.
Sure.
For $60, 500 of them.
Oh wow!
Now 500 for a single batch of something, that's a lot, but it got me thinking. I could easily do Merry Christmas from the Shouses or something like that.
Sure.
And do this for 2 or 3 years, bunch of different batches, and it'd be great, and it'd look really sharp. It's gold foil. It's just fancy looking.
Hey, I mean, if your mother probably did the same thing my mother did, kept the gift wrapping from last year's presents, right? For next year's presents.
The ribbons, especially, like the fancy, like it took somebody 10 minutes to tie this ribbon. Like, oh no, son, you best not untie that. You just slide that off. We're gonna reuse that next year. Oh
yeah, I remember sitting under the Christmas tree and my grandmother really paying attention. Now be careful how you open that package, Sonny. Don't tear the gift wrap. It's like, oh my God. So packaging for the holidays. You mentioned a couple of them. Grog. I love Grog Tag. I love their labels. Their vinyl labels make it really easy to reuse your bottles, because you don't have to worry about soaking them in water or some kind of solution, and then getting sandpaper out and trying to scrub the label off. Just
the other nice
peel
thing about
off.
the vinyl labels, though, when it comes to beer, like you can stick those in a cooler. The ice can melt. If you're doing like custom laser printed labels, or not laser printed, like inkjet printed labels, like I've done a few times, that's going to run like hell. It's going to look like crap in like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Rock Tag will hang out. I've got like vinyl labels from our wedding 5 years ago on a couple bottles that we've been holding on to, and they still look sharp. These are durable as hell, and they look nice.
Well, and I'm sitting there thinking, what would you put on a label? Well, the first thing that comes to mind, I don't know about your family, but somebody in my family, I'm going to get a Christmas card from somebody in my family, okay, and it's going to have all the family members on it. Remember those? Remember those you get? There's like a postcard thing, the family picture. Merry Christmas from the Smiths. Yeah. So I'm thinking, that might be a nice touch. Hey, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays from the Jones family, from the Richardson family. And there's too many in his family to get on a freaking picture. But Ryan, wrapping, preparing, or whatever. I'm thinking of something even like a small wooden box, like like the old milk. Maybe you might be too young. I don't know. Milk used to come in these little wooden boxes. I don't know if you remember those or not, but I'm thinking something along the lines of a 6-pack, but something maybe wooden or something. But what ideas that you might have as far as gifting, one of your home brews to somebody?
Yeah, one of the things that I've done, I'm not real big on the I haven't done the label thing. I think that's a good idea, but I haven't done the label thing. I haven't like waxed the cork or the top of the bottle or anything like that. I haven't done anything along those lines. But what I have done is there are these kind of insulated wine. I don't know what you'd call it, like an individual wine insulated cooler type thing. And when I say cooler, I mean it's soft fabric, so it's and you can just fit one wine bottle in it. It just keeps one wine bottle, kind of chilled. So I'm sorry, I don't have a good name for it. Almost like a sheath, I guess. But there's some nice ones, and they're not too terribly expensive. And so what I do is I'll take a bottle, like a 750 wine bottle of my stuff, and maybe write a little tag or something as to what it is, and then I'll put it inside one of those wine carriers or whatever you want to call it, and present that to somebody as a gift. And I say, here's a gift, because basically, you have the bottle as a gift, but then you've got that wine carrier as a gift, as well, something that is ongoing as the gift. So I like doing that. I got a bunch of them once. I got like 10 of them, like bulk, kind of thing. And it's also nice when you go to like a restaurant and you present it to somebody, because then you're not just giving them a bottle at the restaurant and how are they gonna carry it, or it's gonna look awkward on the table, or the restaurant staff think you brought it in to drink and charge you a corking fee or something. But no, I've done that, and other than that, I usually just I'll maybe throw 6 12-ounce bottles in a random 6-pack holder and say, you want it or don't you?
Yeah. Speaking of the 6-pack holder, I just thought of something. I've got a whole box full of them here, and I buy them off of Amazon. They're just plain white. There's nothing on them. 6-pack, cardboard 6-packs. And here's an idea. The light bulb just went off, and I don't even have kids. If you've got kids, and both of you do, okay, this could be like a family operation here, all right? Get the kids to decorate the outside of the 6-pack container, okay? With whatever they want, I mean, people always love anything that kids draw. Give them, the magic markers or whatever. It may be a mess at the end of the day, but what the hell? That might be a fun project that the whole family might be able to get involved with. I mean, the kids don't know what's, well, of course, maybe they do, but go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say the white 6-pack holder is a great canvas, right? Because instead of having all the different bottle labels and worrying about that, I mean, you can just create a sticker, go to Sticker Mule or something like that, and make a roll of stickers, and you can just throw a sticker, right on that 6-pack holder, and
6-pack contains
just have that be the label that for everything that's in it.
Yeah, true. That's a good idea.
Well, and the idea of making something, like the kids making something and making it special and fun. Here's another idea: like have the kids make a small ornament. Like every year there's popsicle stick ornaments. Snowflakes and Christmas trees and stuff like that. Get a little ribbon, tie that to the neck of the bottle, so they've got something that hangs out and that's durable after that bottle's gotten drank. It's real personal, it's fun, and it's part of the whole spirit of the season, right?
Well, it's a crafty thing. I mean, not they've shut down all the damn schools. This is the kind of stuff that what kindergarten, first grader, second grader, whatever, used to do in school was sit down with the glue, the crayons, the colored pens, and whatnot, and make the Christmas ornament for the family Christmas tree. So that's a hell of an idea. Again, in this COVID time that we're in, at least it's an opportunity for the family to come together and do something as a unit and make a half a dozen or a dozen, however many of these 6-packs or whatever you want to give out. That sounds like a hell of an opportunity for me. As far as I'm concerned, getting the family together and sit down at the table, spread a bunch of butcher paper out on the kitchen table, and just have at it with the glue and the glitter and whatnot, and decorate these 6-pack holders, make the Christmas ornaments. That's a hell of an idea, Jeff.
It's wholesome as hell.
You know what? And I think this is only the second time or third time maybe in the last almost 4 years that we've actually talked about this, I think. I remember doing this kind of a show one other year, but I couldn't tell you when. So this is going to be a tradition from here on out. We need to start doing this like every Christmas. Maybe get an earlier start. I don't know.
More than 10 days before the holiday.
Yeah, but I mean, people need, because like I said, I mean, for the last several months, I go to Michael's, I buy my picture frames and whatnot. I mean, it's not like I'm there every day, but the few times that I am, over the course of, a couple, 2-3 months, I mean, I've seen an influx of people shopping there, and they're buying all kinds of this craft stuff. And I see kids there. I know what they're doing. They're keeping kids occupied. Maybe it's a family thing. I don't know, but this should be a regular on the Mead House, and maybe we need to get started earlier with this. Give people an opportunity to plan ahead, come up with their designs or whatever, and forge ahead. So.
Yeah.
Can you
if any of our listeners have any cool Christmas decorations, stuff like that, shoot them our way. I'd love to share them on Facebook and just kind of build up a community here.
I'd like to be a fly on the wall in the Richardson household when he sits down with a bunch of blank 6-packs and glue and glitter. I bet that stuff would be all over the walls. All right, Ryan.
It's just an average day around here.
Just an average day. Oh my God! So Christmas right around the corner, guys. So hopefully we've given you at least if not any inspiration, at least a few ideas. If you're stuck on something, you don't know what to give your neighbor or whatever. Of course, my neighbors, I mean, I just set 6-packs out on the front porch with their names on it. They just come and get it. But anyway, so, the social club, here at the Mead House. Of course, this is again, where we answer questions based on no formal expertise other than what we've experienced in our own brew house here. So, let me get the list up here. I know we left off with several we didn't get to last week, but this first one up, Jeff, a listener said that he's never made mead with beer yeast, but would like to and would like a recommendation on which one to try. Oh, my God, can we answer that for him?
Oh, Lord.
So
let me start this one off. One of my favorites, and I'll make it real quick. One of my favorites is Whitelabs California Ale Yeast. That's going to be 00 WLP 001. Try that one. Go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, and the reason this wasn't a throwaway question or something, and why I thought it was actually a good question, is that there are a lot of options. The bomb, the Braze 1 month mead, calls for the Belgian strong yeast. The US05,
very popular,
is very clean. I think US05 is the same strain as WLP 001.
Right, and it's probably also the same as Yeast 1055 or 1056 American Ale. Yeah, they're all very
right. We've also talked a lot about Kveik and things like that. So again, I guess I want to throw it around the horn, and actually JD I think already answered, but if you're talking to a guy who says, hey, I've never made mead with beer yeast and I want to, what one should I try? What's the first one, Jeff, that you would tell him to try, and why?
As much as I love the clean US 05, Y Yeast 1056 or WLP 001, I would kind of point towards the SO4 from Fermentis instead of the US05. It's their British ale yeast. And here's why. I think people that are used to making mead with wine yeasts expect a level of like residual sweetness to it. And the SO4 will not necessarily leave a lot of residual sugar. It may, depending on how much honey you're putting into it up front, but it has that suggestion of sweetness from some of those esters that the yeast throws. That's really nice. I like this for a lot of my kind of like the middle ABV poppy meads that don't have a lot else going on, or other things like that, just because there's just that little bit of the estery sweet kind of quality to it, that perception of sweetness we've talked about a few times, that I think lends itself nicely to mead.
Yeah, my favorite is the like I said, the the 001 California ale yeast, and that the reason being is because it's a very clean ferment. Don't bother with the secondary. We had that discussion, I think, last week, to secondary or not to secondary. Go back and listen to that episode. 001 is one that you don't even bother. Okay. It's temperature tolerant. You get a nice clean ferment out of it when it's done and over. Just let it sit. Just let it sit there and clear out. It clears out magically, and then either keg it or bottle it, one or the other. But that's my absolute favorite.
Yeah, yeah. I don't disagree with either of you guys. I'm gonna forget which Whitelabs it is. It's one of the British Whitelabs ones, but it says it kind of has a kind of an oaky, a little bit of an oak flavor. I don't know if that's WLP 002 English Ale, or if it's British Ale or something, but it's one of those, and it kind of got some interesting. I would say that if you are going to give your first shot at using beer yeast, I'm gonna, you might want something that is a little bit different. So, JD goes the California ale yeast, and you can find any of those California or the Chico strain or the California strain that he's talking about. For Jeff, the English ale or the British ale strain, I think is very good as well. I am gonna say there's two that I like. And one, and I know I said what's the one, so maybe I should play by my own rules here. But the two different directions I would go is maybe a Belgian monastic strain, depending on the style you're making, because I really like the esters that they throw, and they have really, really interesting complexity. The other way I'd go would be one of the kvikes, and not one of the really clean kvikes, but the ones that throw the really fruity tropical esters. And just to get something that you're not going to get in a wine yeast. Yeah. I mean, if your goal is super clean, dollars for donuts, you can go super clean with a wine yeast that costs, a few bucks less.
Right. That's enough.
And so if you for me, it's let's do something that you can't get in a typical widely available wine yeast. And that's where I'm starting to go, like, okay, do I try a monastic? Do I try a kvike? Do I, try, one of the other, like, New England IPA strains or something like that. But anyway, I don't want to go too much further on that one, just to say that's kind of what I'd be thinking about.
Good point.
But There you go. I mean, ask 3 mead makers, you get 4 good answers, right?
There you go.
Well, you get 4 answers anyway. I don't know how good they are.
Well, yeah, and the last little tidbit about the Kvik yeast is, I mean, they're very forgiving yeast too.
They are.
Round that one off.
They have some versatility to them as well. You can ferment fairly clean at lower temperatures. You can ferment you can really push those esters and other like fermentation characteristics at high temperatures. There's a lot you can do with it. So that's another something to consider too. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and if somebody who's just starting out, may not be, it depends on where their strengths and weaknesses lie. I mean, how much research did they do in the cooling and that kind of thing, temperature control, that kind of thing. If they don't have access to some of that kind of stuff, because frankly, I mean, if you get up on the upper end, I mean, you can spend $800-900 on a cooling system that for your fermentation. So that's why I like that Kvik. I mean, it's very forgiving. But moving on.
By the same token, though, if you're going to ferment Kvik hot, you got to be prepared to feed that. I mean,
yes,
2 times, 3 times, 4 times the amount of nutrient that you're used to putting in there. Not unheard of, because that will chug through that nutrient real fast. So yeah, that's my final point on that.
Good deal. All right. This is by Jeff. This may be up your alley, dude. I have no idea what meadowsweet is. Go ahead and read it off. I have no idea what meadowsweet
it says,
is.
Meadowsweet methylene recipes. Hi, guys. New here and new to mead making in general. I'm looking to make my first 5-gallon batch, and I wanted to do something a little bit more complex than just basic honey/water batch. Found a list of a lot of lists of traditional herbs used in methylens, which include meadowsweet. I have some dried meadowsweet on hand and would like to include it. However, I don't have any good recipes, save one, which actually use the herb in their product. Has anyone used this herb before and could speak to what other flavors pair well with it? Can anyone recommend how much dried meadowsweet to use in the batch?
What the hell is meadowsweet?
Meadowsweet is an herb. It, like the poster said, it was used for a long time. It's kind of that same idea of kind of balancing the sweetness of beer that you do with hops. So there's a little bit of bitterness to it, but there's also a sweet character to it.
Okay.
So I have grown meadowsweet, and I killed it before I got around to like actually using it in the brew because I'm not a very good gardener.
Jeez.
So I've like plucked leaves from the plant as it's been growing to taste it, and it's really interesting. And I'm really curious to try this in a mead because I think it would lend itself nicely. It's got an herbal, but kind of like on the, you chew it and then you take a breath in, and it's this very interesting, sweet, kind of vegetal, kind of just herbaceous aroma that fills your nostrils as you're breathing in this chewed up plant matter. It's really interesting to me. How I would approach it, honestly, especially if you have it dried, I don't know how well that preserves in the dried like status. I would tincture it. Like we've talked about so many times, stick some in a jar, add like a good clean vodka or some other kind of alcohol base to it. Just let that sit, shake it up, once in a while. Make sure everything is nice and mixing. And once it's gone for about a month, just kind of drop that in there. I have done similar with sweetgrass, which is in a lot of places it is grown like the side of the road like a weed. But in some different like Native American cultures and things like that, it's used as a sacred herb. I forget exactly how or why, but it has this same kind of a mellow kind of herbaceous sweetness to it. We tincture it up, and we've added it to just a basic traditional to give a kind of a nice little extra sweet or perception of sweetness kind of tang to it that you don't get just from the honey alone.
What about a tea?
A tea could work as well. And again, we're coming back to the same stuff we talked with from, I think it was Jessica from Mountain Rose.
Right.
You get different things from like a hot process versus a cold process, or alcohol versus water. It's probably something you want to try and fiddle with, one teacup at a time, so to speak.
Yeah. Ryan,
Now,
oh, go ahead, Jeff.
I was just going to say to answer the last question as to what flavors go well with it. That I'm kind of up in the air with. But I'd be willing to try other herbs that are a little bit more on the bitter side, like mugwort or horehound or maybe wormwood. Wormwood is really, really bitter, and a little goes a long way. So maybe to try and find a balance with those, to get a little bit of bitterness, a little bit of that sweetness, that could be interesting to me.
Ryan, you know anything about meadowsweet?
I am a meadowsweet amateur, so
Me too.
I'm gonna have to, defer all of my knowledge on this one to Jeff and let him.
Yes.
Just let him sum that up.
Yeah, same here. I'll go with what Jeff says: tincture or tea. Yep. Would be the thing. Even if it's an herb, I mean, try them both.
Trial and error. Report back. Let us know what worked and what didn't.
Please do.
Yeah.
And I'd be interested in hearing more about it. I've never heard of this stuff, so I'm just going to have to go to Mountain Rose Herbs and dig around and just see what this stuff's all about. I mean, if it can be used in brewing, might be something I would consider using in place of, I don't know, hops in a braggot or
sure.
something. I don't know.
I gather that's what its original purpose was for. So,
yeah.
I mean, the other nice thing is this is the kind of thing that grows nicely on a windowsill, because if memory serves, this is more of a shade plant than like a full sun kind of a plant. So, it's one of the more accessible ones to stick on your windowsill or in the kitchen window or whatever, and just kind of let it go.
Yeah. All right. This one's from Balmier, Pluto 15. Is my mead ruined? Well, I don't know yet. So I think I misread the instructions. English is not my first language, and I have a brick for a brain. Come on, dude. Can't be that bad. When the instructions of several sources said that you should aerate your mead a lot the first weeks, since you should oxygenate your. Okay, I got to reread this again. The instruction of several sources said you should aerate your mead a lot the first weeks. Okay, and then since you should oxygenate your must a bit when preparing your mead, I mixed, well, all right, we'll get to that. I mixed up that instruction with aerating, so I have opened the lid almost every day for the first week and a half and mixed it with a big spoon. My mead is currently 19 days old, and I decided to taste a little bit. I can feel the alcohol present in the mead, but it tastes like cardboard. Okay, there's something there that Jeff, I know, can speak to.
Yep.
Have I flucked it up, or is this normal? Should I have just left it alone for like 6 months to get a better flavor, or is that even possible? I want to back all the way up toward the top up here. He's talking about aerating for a lot the first weeks, not weeks. Balmier Pluto, week, 6-7 days at the most. That's it. After that, then you should worry. Then you should start worrying about oxygenating your must. Stirring and getting out the CO2 is not necessarily oxygenating your must. You're just getting the CO2 out. Big difference there. But I'm going to let Jeff speak to the rest of it. Cardboard? Yeah,
cardboard.
Maybe.
Cardboard. Yeah, there is. So the rule of thumb here is that once, I don't know, he doesn't talk about whether or not he has access to a hydrometer,
right.
But hard rule of thumb that I have used consistently and never had any issues with is, take your starting gravity. Once you hit the halfway mark between starting gravity and 0, so, let's say we starting gravity 1080. Once you hit 1040, you don't do any mixing. At that point, you've got enough alcohol in there. Risking oxygenation is problematic, and that cardboard taste, that's oxygenation. There are two ways that oxidization happens or presents itself in alcoholic beverages. Generally, one is cardboardy flavors, that wet cardboard nastiness. It's not pleasant. The other is sherry kind of flavors, and that you can kind of mitigate around it if you like sherry, but it's not something I go pour out for guests or anything like that. This may have gotten ducked.
Yeah. Not clear. I mean, he talks about feel the alcohol present in the mead. So we have no idea how much honey, how much, the
Right.
yeast or anything to that nature. And so
the other thing is he feeling, this is a subjective question because we don't have a lot of information here. Is he feeling ethyl alcohol, the good alcohol, the stuff we want, or is he feeling like fusels, which it takes very little fusel compared to ethyl to be able to taste that or perceive that, but that tastes like hot alcohol. That's that burn you get from cheap vodka, for example. I mean, that's just the hot, heavy alcohols that are, if you've got a stress fermentation or something like that, those come out, and they're very apparent when they're there.
Yeah. Ryan, has Jeff pretty much answered this guy's question?
Absolutely. Yeah, I would say completely. I don't. For me to say any more would just, be to indulge those who want to hear what I've got to say.
Okay.
So learn from our mistakes and keep going. Do better next time.
There you go.
Yep.
I think we answered this one already. I left it on my notes. Are there any fruits you've tried that don't taste good in mead? Off the top of my head, I can't think of any that I've tasted I can think of a few that I've tasted that I don't like, but whether they're good in mead or not, hell if I know. But the ones that I've tasted, dude, I can't even pronounce the names of them. So,
one of the first melomels I did was, because I'm not a melomel guy, and anybody that's listened to the show for any length of time knows that I don't do a lot of fruit in my mead, generally, and part of that is I feel like a lot of people do fruit meads, and they probably do it better than I do. So I don't feel like I'm breaking new ground when I make another raspberry or another blackberry kind of a thing. I'll try it once in a while. It's just not my thing. So one of the first fruit meads that I did, I was like, oh, well, I was at an Asian market and they had these fruits called cherimoyas, which they're some kind of a South American fruit, and they're supposed to taste like ice cream or custard or something like that. So I bought a ton of them, and I took them home and I started processing them to make mead. And I must have screwed something up when I was processing them. I must have let them get oxidized or nasty or something like that. I don't know exactly what I did wrong because I don't know this fruit, but that mead tastes good. So when you're going to jump off the deep end and try something new, learn about the fruit, learn how to work with it first, because I did not, and that was a waste of money and time and effort and frustration.
All right. So let me check the time here. Oh, what the hell? Let's go one more. I'm gonna throw this one over to Ryan. This is from our Kansas. I'm not even bothered. Something 24. I want to make a mead that embodies winter non-traditionally. Send me ideas. Thinking pine needle shoots, reindeer legend, reindeer. Okay. Tea berries. Another combo would be chicory and rose hips. Ryan, some kind of a non-traditional winter mead. Quickly.
There's a lot of things you could do there. Non-traditionally, I'm thinking that there's, the pine is always big. In winter ales, I think that there's you find like cinnamon and a few of those others in different winter ales as well. The what was it? The Schoof beer that winter ale has like thyme in it. So you've got some herbs, and I think you could go that way. I'm trying to think. I think we talked about this. I know I'm going all over the place here. I think we had talked about you could also do something festive like cranberry if you wanted to bring in some Christmas flavors,
sure.
or that. But yeah, geez, put me on the spot. Tell me I gotta hurry, and there's a lot to do here.
There's too many. Yeah, there's too many. I mean, there's a lot going on here because I really can't think of any non-traditional winter flavor. Honestly, I'm having a hard time here. I'm thinking pine cones. I love the smell. When you walk into like Ralph's supermarket, they got boxes of these pine cones that have been soaked in cinnamon juice or whatever. Yep. And you're constantly smelling that as you do your shopping. I'm thinking, wow, man, if I could only make a mead, or if somebody would make a beer that tasted like these things smell, amazing. So, yeah. But that's traditional winter to me. So
it is. I think if you're going to take this route, you need to figure out what is non-traditional about your particular holiday season. Yeah. And for me, for example, for a long time, we had a kind of a tradition in our house, like probably in my 20s, where I would come home from college and, Christmas Eve day, we'd be fiddling around, we'd be finishing up wrapping, or, running around and saying hello to distant relatives and things like that. And we'd come home. Mom would be exhausted and didn't want to cook. We weren't home, so it was like, okay, well, this isn't my kitchen. I can't cook. So we went out for Chinese food.
There you go.
And if I were going to make a non-traditional holiday mead, you know what I would make? I'd do some kind of like orange zest, maybe including orange juice, some Chinese 5-spice for that orange chicken or orange beef.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Maybe some Aleppo pepper in there for a little bit more of that bite. I think that'd be awesome. And that would kick like probably 6 years of Christmas memories right up into my head.
Jeff saves the day. Well, hey, we're gonna drop it right there. We may tackle that one again next week, see if we can prod Ryan's brain just to give him a little bit more time on that one. But hey, thanks to Kevin Martin for stopping by. I'll tell you what, we'll put all the links to his place up in the show notes here. What an awesome experience that was talking to Kevin. And again, thanks, Kevin, for hanging out with us in this episode. And hey, don't forget, let us know what you're brewing. Give us your gift ideas. How you handling, passing out your meads or brews or whatever. What are your gifting ideas? You can get us on Facebook, Twitter. Email us at the info at themeadhouse.com. Or like I said, the Facebook, Twitter deal, both at the Mead House. So in the meantime, hey, happy mead making. That's going to be it for this episode. Ryan flipped the lights off. Jeff slammed the door shut, locker up tight. Hey, we'll be back next week with episode number 183 of the Mead House. We're gone.